Hello everyone, I am going to be doing a DIY project, but I wanted to include the unboxing portion of it first, so that's what you're seeing right here. I already opened one of the things. I ordered from Michael's and it came in separate packages, so anyways, got some numbers, some labels, and some needles. Hold on, Tessa. So everything so far is in good condition. I asked on Instagram if you guys wanted a DIY video first or portfolio cringe part 2. Majority said DIY. And I've been wanting to do one for a while, I just didn't know what. Anyway, here's some red. Everything is looking good so far. I'm excited. I haven't done anything DIY-ish. Like, I haven't been that crafty since my college days. Hello, Tessa. What's the matter? What's wrong? I wish you guys could see her right now. Oh my god. Tessa. I can't even open it. Alright. Where my thing at? But the packaging is good. If you ever decide to order from Michael's instead of going to the store. Some replacement blades for my... So I was just going to get a new one. But I already have this and I could just replace the blades because there's only like 2 or 3 left in here. Change the lighting. Alright, finally we have this box. I will eventually get this whole layout together, but this is what we're doing now. This paper right here. So I was looking for some paper to use instead of regular color paper or cardstock. I wanted something with a pattern. I saw this and I was like, what? They have nice patterns and it's from Cricut. And I don't have Cricut, but it should still work. I saw the Disney and I was like, yes, nostalgia. I want it. I'm buying it. And then I saw another one. I was like, I have to get it. And these were on sale. So I was like, this is just a sign that I need to do this DIY and get this paper. So there's another one with Minnie Mouse, which I had a lot of Minnie Mouse stuff growing up. So this is going to be nice. I can make some nice projects with this. I think I was just so excited that it was Disney that I just bought it without realizing it was double-sided paper. So there's a pattern on each side. But that's basically my unboxing. We're going to be making some books. I did a video years ago on DIY books, but because I have better equipment like a better camera and better computer software, I can give a better updated tutorial on how to do them. And it's been years since I made one, so I'm kind of going to be kind of relearning it as I go. But it should be fun. I'm excited. I really needed to get back into this stuff. This is what I needed to get back into my crafty side. So stay tuned for this tutorial and there will be more DIYs coming in the future. Let's get into this tutorial. Okay. So this step is optional. I wanted dotted paper, but I couldn't find any decent ones online, so I just figured I'd make my own. So I'm gonna make an 8.5 by 11 document in Illustrator. So once you do that, go to the swatches panel, then select the library icon, then go to pattern, basic graphics, and basic graphic dots. Then select one that will be close to what you want your dotted paper to look like. I mean, this part is optional too, but I used it for reference. And then I'm going to create another artboard to create my own grid. So then I'm going to go to Object, Pattern, Make. Choose the grid format. Then the width and height is going to be, I'm going to change this, so it's going to be 0.25. And I'm going to show you, like, you can always go back and change the layout of the pattern. So after you make your pattern, remove the dot. You can either hide the layer or delete it. And then you're going to create another 8.5 by 11 rectangle on the artboard. Then go to your swatches, select that pattern you've created, and it will fill up that blank rectangle. And then once you do that, that's when you'll see that the grid is a little small. You want it to be wide enough so you can draw or write whatever you want. So then I'm going to go back to that swatch by double clicking it, and I'm going to edit the width and height to be 0.25 inches. And then we're going to stick with that. And for the copy section, it's going to be 9 by 9. So I just wanted to show you how you could always go back and change instead of editing that part out. And then after that, save it. Then you can export it as a PDF so you can print it. Then we'll move on to the next step. So out of these two, I decided to use the Minnie Mouse paper for this tutorial. I didn't need both, as you'll see later, but this is what the dotted paper looks like printed. I wanted it double-sided, but it didn't come out that way. I should have put a bleed. So if you're gonna do this, make sure there's a bleed on it. Now it's time to cut. Now the fun can begin. So we're going to grab the OLFA Utility Knife, or whichever you want to cut the paper with. I just prefer this utility knife. Make sure that the blade is sharp. If not, it's time to replace with another one. That's why I'm showing these replacement blades right here. Links to all the materials will be linked in the description box below, so don't worry. Mine is still sharp, so I'm gonna stick with that. But anyway, grab your paper, pencil, and your cutting mat. The cutting mats are best for keeping damage off your table, as well as making sure everything you cut is even. You'll see how I use it to align everything throughout the video. Place the paper along the lines and make sure it is straight. We're going to be measuring 6 inches by 12 inches, so we'll be cutting the paper in half since this paper is 12 by 12. This means we can use this one piece of paper to make 2 books, which is why I figured I didn't need the other paper. So as I get it together on the right side of the screen, take a look at all the materials that we'll need for this project. I'll leave that on the screen for a while. Anyway, after it's finally aligned, after the paper is aligned, get the ruler, make sure everything is even, and then press down on the ruler with your hand so it doesn't move while you cut. Cut the paper along the ruler with the blade until the paper is completely cut off. Since this paper is double-sided, we can use a different pattern for each book. Now we can cut the dotted paper or whatever sheets you decide to use for the inside of the book. I printed 20 sheets and divided them in half for the 2 books, 10 pages per book. You can add more if you want. Stack the paper and make sure they're all equally lined up. Then grab the cardstock, which is the cover sheet, which is the Minnie Mouse we're using today, and stack it with the other paper. Make sure they're all aligned, okay? Since the paper is letter size, we need to cut off 1 inch from the cardstock paper. Mark that paper at 11 inches and evenly cut off 1 inch. You can toss that piece of paper or you can save it as a bookmark. It's up to you. Now restack that cardstock with the remaining paper. Mark that paper where the cardstock ends, which is at 6 inches in height. Divide the cover sheet, aka the cardstock, from the inside sheets. Restack the inside sheets to make sure they're all aligned. Then you're going to grab the ruler and the knife, the blade, whatever you use to cut the paper. Make sure it's all aligned. Then you're going to cut the paper. Always press down on the ruler to make sure that it does not move while you're cutting it. Otherwise, it's going to ruin it. Don't do it, okay? Don't move it until all of the paper has been cut off. Toss the excess, unless you want to keep it for some reason, but you could just toss it. Now it's time to grab some paper clips. So restack all the paper together, and then you're going to make sure it's evenly stacked. Then you're going to place the paper clips on the sides. Grab your ruler again to measure half of the paper in width, 6 inches. Mark it and then draw a light line down the middle. Then mark 3 lines for the top, middle, and bottom. 1.5 inches apart, the middle line should be at 3 inches. Make the mark as visible as needed, but light enough that you can erase it later. It's time to bind. Get your thread ready and grab the tapestry needles or whatever needles you prefer and put the thread through the hole. Cut the thread to whichever length you'd like with a pair of scissors. I already cut mine and made it long enough so I could do a double binding or whatever you call it to secure the pages together. Once the thread is even on both sides, tie a knot at the ends of the thread, and I personally like to do 2 to 3 knots at the end just to make sure that everything stays in place. Get your awl and press into the paper in a twisting motion on the 3 lines we marked earlier. Make sure you make the opening wide enough for the needle and thread to go through. Ignore the stapler in the background. I was going to try it as another binding method, but this type of stapler don't do that. I'll probably try it in another video. But anyway, I'm going to fast forward to the next part. So it should look like this. You can grab the awl again and do the same twisting motion on the outside. I have a more detailed view of how I use this in another video I will link here. So I'm going to fast forward through that so you can get to the next step. Grab the thread and the needle. Start from the middle section on the outside and bring the thread and the needle through the hole to the inside of the book, but be gentle with it. Otherwise you're going to jack up your project and you're going to get mad. Use a twisting motion to pull in the needle if necessary. That's what I have to do. It depends on the size of the needle plus the size of the opening created with the awl. Once the needle is all the way through, bring the needle to the hole on the bottom section on the inside. Use the same twisting motion to get the needle through. Then pull the thread like before, back to the outside. Bring the thread back around to the inside and put the needle through the same opening as last time. Use the twisting motion each time if you need to. Once the thread is all the way through on the outside, put the needle through the middle opening and then bring the thread back to the inside pages. I hope this makes sense, but hopefully you can visually see what I'm talking about. Now take the needle to the top opening and bring the thread all the way through to the outside page. Flip the book back to the inside and bring the thread through the same top section we just did. And once you do that, it will be back on the outside. We're going to do the same thing one more time, but bringing the thread back to the middle opening. So now the thread is back on the inside. You can stop here, but I'm going to repeat the same steps one more time to ensure the binding is secured. But this is essentially what yours should look like. I'll show the second round of binding, but sped up a little bit just so you can see how to do it. Again, it's optional, but I highly suggest you do this binding method at least twice. Also, the thicker the thread, the less binding you have to do, and the more secure your pages will be. Once you've done binding the pages with the thread and needle should be on the inside. Cut the thread off from the needle. Leave enough thread so that you can tie a few knots to make sure the thread stays in place. You can twist the excess and tuck it in with the rest of the thread, or you can cut some more off after you tie the knots for a more professional look. Cut the excess thread on the outside up to where the knot is. Of course, throw the leftover thread away. Close the book and flatten it. The inside pages are sticking out, which is normal. Take the clips off from the sides and place them at the tops and bottom. We're going to cut off the paper sticking out of the book. Alright, once the clips are in place, line it up with a straight line. Grab your ruler and place it along the edge of the cover. When that's even, hold down the ruler and get the utility knife to cut along the ruler, making sure all the paper is completely cut off. Once that's done, check to see if it's even. You can also go back and snip off little pieces that you may have missed. After that, your book should look like this. You can stop here, but now we're going to add some pizzazz to the book to make it more fancy. Get some labels and peel one off of the sheet. Figure out where you want to place it first before pressing it down. Once you place that sticker label down, it's a wrap. And it's permanent, so make sure it's in the right spot before sticking it to the paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should at least look good. Next, get the sticker numbers or letters, whichever you prefer. Peel off the stickers from the sheet. Place them on your fingers or on the outside of your hand. Lay them out on the label before permanently pressing them down. You might have to adjust them a few times first, so yeah, I'll fast forward through the struggle and then we'll be done. So this is the final look. I did make 2 books, but only shared one, so the video wouldn't be too long. But once your books are completed, you get some textbooks or anything heavy enough to lay on top of the books for a day or so to flatten them out, and then they'll be ready to use after that. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I made it as short as I possibly could, trust me. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more content. It's the final. Anyway, finished product. Can use these as bookmarks if you want to keep the scraps, if you want to make use of the scraps. If not, throw it in the garbage. This is working.